Hello, and welcome back to the Fear and Terror podcast. A big thanks to those joining us for the first time, and to those who continue to listen every time we drop one of these bad boys. In today's episode, we talk about veterans in gaming with some of the Fear and Terror veterans themselves. We start out the show talking about some coping methods, as outlined in a study conducted in 2016 that takes a look at the mental health recovery in veterans and how it's possible to use video games in that process. We touch on some hard-to-answer questions regarding each other's mental state, and open up about self-destructive habits and coping methods we've tried that didn't work. We share stories of the struggle to reintegrate, to work as a team, and the process to getting, quote, better. Near the finish, we'll share some of our favorite games and talk about how our gaming preferences are good indicators of how we choose to handle problems in our day-to-day. I'm your host, J-Dub, and again, thanks for joining us today. I hope everyone listening can take something away from this conversation. Hello and welcome back to the Fear and Terror podcast. Today's episode, Veterans and Gaming, how video games help military vets with PTSD, depression, and filling the hole after getting out. My guest joining me today, Burnt My Soup, or Burnt.
Hello.
Ed.
Hey, what's going on?
Esky.
What up?
And Zombie.
Ree.
How's it going, guys? So, you guys have all taken a look at some of the questions we're going to be going over today. Feel free to freeform, man. Send it from the cuff. Don't think too hard about your answers. I want this to be real. I want it to be fun, and I want it to be informative for the people listening. So, starting off, we'll start with Burnt. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Feel free to not answer any of these questions if you don't want to, or if you don't feel comfortable. But let us know. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
How's it going? I am Burnt My Soup, as you all know, and I'm a good old one of the children of Uncle Sam. I'm from the United States Marine Corps, Sergeant. Let's see here. My job in the military was grunt, and I'm gonna leave it at that because I did have an MOS, but I didn't fucking do it because I went to go to a shit ton of other ventures aside from it. 2 deployments, 1 combat. Main games I play is if it's a game anyone in Fear and Terror plays, I play it. And let's see, with the main topic of discussion, the mental, physical disabilities, yeah, standard to most grunts, having a little bit of a mind fuck and back pain.
All right. So would you say that all that, the disabilities that you talk about, that all came from military service? You didn't have any injuries from playing football or anything like that?
No, 100%.
In high school?
100% came from service. First time I ever broke a bone was when I joined the service. So I was in perfect health up until before.
It sounds like a normal run-of-the-mill story. I was in perfect health, and then I signed on the dotted line.
So, yeah, pretty much that's how it goes.
All right, Ed.
How you guys doing? My name's EDP USMC 0311. There's really no guessing. I was in the Marine Corps, and I was a grunt. My MOS was 0311. That's basic rifleman. Kind of skipping this, but a little out of order. Did 3 deployments, 1 MU, and 2 deployments to Iraq. Those were the bad years, the 05, 06, 07, 08 years. Have I been in combat? Yes, I've been in a fair amount of combat. And have I been diagnosed with mental or physical disabilities? Yeah, I have some service-connected disabilities, hearing loss, traumatic brain injury. The VA said I could have gone either way with the PTSD, but they didn't believe it was impacting me enough, nor did I. So I thought I had a pretty good handle on it. That's still kind of to be determined, but I think I'm doing all right. The main games I play are Squad and Escape from Tarkov, with a smattering of some, Warhammer type games.
Right on. And yeah, talking about, the VA going back and forth, it could really go either way with PTSD. That's kind of a common factor, kind of a, lot same as with Burnt, run of the mill story. Veteran goes to the VA. VA says, yeah, you seem a little bit off, but we don't think it's really impacting your life. So do you want to take 30 meds a day, or do you want to go on about your day?
Yeah, I didn't want anything to do with that.
Right.
For me, it was a scarlet letter. I wasn't sure what I was going to be doing with my life, and I wasn't sure how that would affect it going forward. So honestly, my biggest fear was that someday it would be used against me, for firearms ownership or job discrimination. So I just didn't want anything to do with it.
Which I got out in 2012, and that was a pretty common story among everyone was, hey, if you go to the VA and they diagnosed you with any kind of mental disability, PTSD, depression, anxiety, anything like that, and it's service-connected, you're not going to be able to get a job. You're not going to be able to own a firearm. You're not going to be able to work, for the government. It's in a school. You can't be a teacher. You can't be around kids. It was basically a death sentence, so I completely understand that.
I do like how it's changed. I will mention that. Right before I got out, we had a change in the secretary of the VA. I tell you what, my time getting through the VA was a lot easier. I'm sure most other people here who are from my older generation, like Ed.
Yeah, good changes.
Yeah. All right, Eski.
Hey, I'm Eski. My main games are Squad, Escape from Tarkov, Rainbow Six Siege, and Postscriptum. Kind of been around here for a while, so any main game FaT's ever seen, I think I've been a part of. I'm currently in the United States Navy. We don't have MOSs unlike the Marines or Army or anything like that. We got things called rates. Just same idea, different title. So I'm an IT, Information Systems Technician. I'm an E4. So I'm a Petty Officer 3rd class. I've been on one deployment, and that was different. wasn't anything too crazy. Wasn't anything bad. Saw the coast of China. Been surrounded by I don't know if I can really say this, so I'm not gonna say how many, but there's you could see Chinese ships. It was intense. Haven't been in combat. I haven't been diagnosed with anything yet, but I'm sure I've got slight hint of depression. I'm pretty sure I've been radiated on because my job, there's a lot of dealing with communications, going up to antennas, doing maintenance on antennas while we're out at sea. So I've probably been radiated on.
So you'd say that there's a good chance that from one of those tall towers that when you were standing below, there was a man up there radiating on you.
Yeah, I've definitely seen 2 people get radiated on. That was intense. We were in.
So a lot of people, that's like a fetish for them, is to be radiated on from above.
No.
I think he means the classic communications specialist.
Yeah.
I'm only ever going to have female children for the rest of my life.
That kind of radiated on.
I thought he meant golden shower radio. Oh, that's urination.
No,
I got those words confused. I'm just giving you a hard time. So, Eski, you're in the Navy. Obviously, we've already been through 2 guys that were Marines. You're going to get a little bit of hell today. You're going to be our comedic release. A lot of these questions do deal with stuff after you've gotten out. So some of this stuff might seem like it doesn't apply to you. But what I want you to do, kind of, think about the future of after you get out. Think about ways you can apply this to being still in. Feel free to bend the questions to fit you. Don't just skip an answer because it's oh, well, I'm still in, so I don't have to answer this, Yeah,
I have about a year and a half left, so I'm already planning a lot for getting out, especially since part of my job's not only just comms for getting off ship communications, is also managing the entire ship's computer network, stuff like that. So it's a lot of good just great jobs for IT outside. So just planning for a lot of shit like that.
Right on. Cool. Zombie?
I am Zombie Fetladril. My main games are Squad and D&D. I served in active Air Force, and I was a generator mechanic. I was deployed 2 times. I went to Kuwait in 2005, and I went to Afghanistan in 2007. I am diagnosed with a plethora of stuff, including major depression, generalized anxiety disorder, adjustment reaction, insomnia, and then a lot of physical ailments as well that are related. And I really did not enjoy my time while I was in.
Did you have any, like, were you showing pre-depressive symptoms or anything like that before you went in? Or would you pretty well point the finger and say that, going into it, that's what triggered all this to happen?
I had a clean bill of health before I went into service. All this is service connected.
Okay.
It has been proven, and I'm currently rated at 70%.
Okay. So for me, J-Dub, obviously, been around here for about 2 years. I think I've played something with pretty much all you guys. Squad, Tarkov, Rainbow Six were my main ones. I don't really play Squad or Rainbow Six anymore just because the development of those games kind of slowed down. I was in the Marines, 0311, baby. 2 deployments. My first... What the hell was that?
I think he was laughing.
My first deployment was to Southern Helmand, Afghanistan. My boot deployment was also some of my seniors' first combat deployment because they went to Iraq before that, but they were, I want to say, in Ramadi, one of those R-named cities where the fighting had kind of died down by 2007, 2008.
What year was that? What unit?
2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines.
Okay.
Yeah, they were there, 2008, and then we deployed October 2009 to Afghanistan.
I think we relieved them. I think my unit 2-8 relieved 2-2.
Well, we relieved 2-8 in Afghanistan. If you were on that Southern Helmand down in Lashkar Gah.
No, I wasn't. I got out.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, keep going.
No, you're good. My second deployment was a MEU. We were supposed to be at sea for 6 months, as MEUs typically do. We left 6 months early, and then we stayed the full term. So I think the 22nd MEU in 2011 was the second longest MEU since World War II. I want to say something like that. And you can fact check me on that. Anybody, please let me know if that's true or not. That's just what they told us because we were at sea for like 362 days.
No, I remember. I heard about that on my media too.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. And we stopped in some cool places, but nothing really long enough to feel like you were off ship for a respectable amount of time.
Yeah, you're only there usually like what, 3 days or so.
That's the longest we spent was in Oman, and that was because they had to fix something on the ship, so we were there a couple extra days. But it's Oman, so what are you really doing?
Yeah, like I think we were stuck in Guam for like 19 days, which really kind of fucked me on my deployment.
Yeah,
we're supposed to go to like Australia and shit like that, and that got canceled because of.
Nope, he ain't going. And then mental physical disabilities, same thing as Burnt and Ed, the generic diagnosis of, something's wrong up there and your brain rattling around. And I did end up going back to the VA after the climate kind of changed around that. Went and did some cognitive process therapy, talked to a psychiatrist and everything. Never did get prescribed any medication. That was the one thing I refused. I've seen way too many of my friends die as a result of side effects of painkillers and antidepressants and everything else, the laundry list of pills they give you. So I opted out of that clinical trial that they did on hundreds of thousands of veterans.
Hey, we'll fix this one thing and then give you 10 other things to be worried about.
Yeah, how many gallon Ziploc bags do you have? Because you're going to need them to carry your pills around. So cool. That's everybody. I appreciate you guys joining me. I think this is going to be a pretty interesting conversation. I think it's going to be a pretty cool little outlet for everybody. Again, if there's anything you guys don't want to talk about, there's no obligation to do this. None of you guys are getting paid nor compensated for your time. So, feel free to not answer. But we'll go ahead and kick this off. Got a little spiel to begin with, and then we'll just round robin, go round table, and everybody kind of throw in their 2 cents on each part. So in 2016, Dr. Michelle Calder-Karras of the Johns Hopkins University conducted a study titled Connection, Meaning, and Distraction, a qualitative study of video game play and mental health recovery in veterans treated for mental and or behavioral health problems. A lot of this is going to focus on that mental health side, but as we know, video gaming can be a great outlet for people with physical disabilities as well. The study found that veteran participants reported that video games help not only with managing moods and stress, but also with 3 areas related to other aspects of recovery: adaptive coping, eudaimonic well-being, and socializing. We're going to start with the first area. Let's talk about adaptive coping. Confronting problems directly, maybe talking to other veterans in-game or in Discord about some of the problems you're having, maybe happening around a squad or post-scriptum to decompress at the end of the day. Or it could be as simple as going apeshit on Halo to kind of turn your brain off when your anxiety's kicking your ass. As opposed to maladaptive coping, which commonly includes drugs or alcohol escape methods. So first question for you guys. Have you guys noticed yourself using video games as an adaptive coping method? And has it been helpful? Give me some examples. We'll start with you, Burnt.
So yeah, for a while there, actually, as I was starting to get out after my second deployment, I was going through some really rough spots. Some shit happened back home on the home front at the same time that stuff was going on with our deployment. Lost some good friends to both the enemy and the enemy inside our own head on that deployment. And basically when I came back, because I knew too many people who had let not only my family but friends before, they'd let those mal coping methods take them wholeheartedly. And so the first thing I just did was I came back, I looked for my group of friends from the BXO days, hashtag the BXO podcast, and found Fear and Terror had been created finally, and we had the Discord and everything, so I hopped in on that, and I just sunk myself into video games to pull my brain away from it whenever I could. And I found it helped a lot. I was able to kind of just go in the black and shoot some pixels, and it helped for a while with just being able to forget some things, let some things go, run their natural course, while at the same time, like, finally opening back up again. Just playing video games and doing the community aspect of it, and doing some other stuff that, like, connected with me. At the time, we were really big in Arma, Anastasi, Squad competitive, and a couple other things where I noticed some of my footwork I learned as a grunt could be applied to make these guys more competitive against other competition level teams in the rising esports. And so I went and I started trying to put in some input, stuff that I know it's common knowledge outside if you're a veteran or if you're police or anything like that. So I figured it wouldn't hurt to teach these guys. That started letting me kind of open up more, started meeting other veterans, pretty much everyone here. And I felt like it helped.
And you're talking about the comp team and being able to bring that real world experience into a video game. The rise of esports. You mentioned that. So what year would you say this is? How long ago was it that you were meeting these guys and saying, hey, we're playing a military shooter. I was in the military. Let me teach this kid who's, maybe 17, 18 years old, who's in college, let me share a little bit of that knowledge with them. What years were these and how old were you?
This was starting in 17, just before the deployment, and then coming back in 18, 19 as I came back from deployment, was getting out. So very recently, actually. I served 15 to 19, and then I just actually left my reserve unit after going reserves post-active. Due to life things, not anything bad to the reserves, just life. I can't make it to my reserve unit on time and do my job, so I went dropped myself to IRR. But anyways, this was only within the last 3 or so years.
Okay.
But a big thing was like just going in and teaching guys in squad, like, hey, this is how you pie a corner, man. Like, you know how you're always getting pixel peeked, or you're trying to run into a building and you just fucking, your whole squad gets raped as you're trying to go in there? Like, here, this is how you actually approach that door without getting seen by him, and you see him first, kind of deal. Noticed huge improvements there. And then those guys started enjoying their games more because they were able to fight now against these guys who all their mindset is competition level first person shooter video games that they're playing against, and these guys have been doing it for years. They're fucking in their 30s doing this. This is a 17-year-old kid just trying to enjoy the game, and it helped. For me, it helped because it was teaching, and it was I find a lot of relief in teaching. So as I was teaching these guys, like, I was able to kind of take stuff I knew, I guess, let it off my shoulders, because some of that was stuff that I ended up using.
It's funny you mentioned teaching.
Yeah, Ed, we'll use that as a perfect segue. Ed, same question.
Okay, so I got out. I was in from 04 to 08, so, and I wasn't immediately in the gaming scene like I am now. I was, an Xbox player and stuff like that. And it was nice to be able to play with some friends that, we got out and we got separate ways, and we were able to still link up every once in a while via Xbox. So that was good, but I don't really think I didn't use video games as an adaptive coping method right off the bat. I was busy. I got myself enrolled into college. I was working out. I was working 7 days a week, going to school at night. I don't know. I didn't have that much time for gaming, but when I did enjoy it. There were some other things. I was still drinking entirely way too much, which was left over from the military. I eventually kind of just left that in the past, but I will say that if I had found a group like Fear and Terror then, and had I been a console gamer, PC gamer, I really think it would have definitely helped having a community around like this, especially with the whole squad aspect of it and the competitive nature and the the military level tactics that Burnt was talking about that do carry over with some things and can be applied to squad if done correctly. And I did go through a little bit of that as well, as Burnt was saying, showing the comp team guys some things that may work for them and how to use them. But I do enjoy teaching things that I know, outside of gaming too, which is interesting, and imparting and sharing that knowledge of things that kept me alive with other people, particularly with firearms instruction and other things. But that's delving off. But now video games, yeah, they're a nice little bit of I guess you could say adapting coping methods that does help every now and again.
Yeah, and along the same lines, I've definitely found myself in a game and been pissed off during my day about something, or just in a generally bad mood, and you can come in and kind of turn off. I did the same thing when I got out. I had an Xbox, and it was console games. A lot of Rainbow Six. I played with a lot of guys that I was in with. A lot of guys that were in the same company and the same battalion as I was in. And it was just a nice way to stay in touch with those guys. Same thing, though. I definitely wish I would have found a better community early on. And we'll get to some of the other ways that we've tried coping here in a minute, and kind of touch on that and how those didn't work. But yeah, like you said, same thing for me. I wish I would have found this community earlier, because gaming became a bigger part of my life as the process went on, if you want to call it a process, the learning process of how to live with everything, with civilian life, So, yep. Eski, I'm going to bend this just a little bit because you are still in. How do you use gaming as adaptive coping with your day-to-day stress, with your job, with what you're doing on shift, with what you're doing for the Navy. How do you use video games and gaming or the community as a coping method for your day-to-day? It's, again, tailor this question a little bit more towards yourself, not so much about getting out and separating from all the people you know, but in your day-to-day.
Okay. So for day to day, like, since I'm been in for about a few years now, I've been on my boat for almost I'll be 3 years next July, I believe. And I'm one of the more senior people on board. So I've been on board probably the longest after 2 more guys leave. And a lot of that, with that being said, being one of the more senior guys on board, it's kind of hard because you have people who look for you for advice on almost every situation, and it's not bad, but it takes a toll on you after a while. Like, your chain of command, like, they want you to complete some unrealistic task in an unreasonable timeline, right? Or you're constantly seeing your juniors constantly get put on some bullshit work, and you want to try and help them more. You want to, like, you're constantly want to keep up with them, make sure they're okay, make sure there's anything you can try and help them with. And after a while, you kind of just start losing track because you're slowly you just start losing track more on yourself. Like, I've been slowly, like, not keeping up with things I need to do with my day to day. Sometimes, like, especially with, like, financing stuff, like, I gotta take it. Like, I know you said kind of tailor it, but, like, I'm starting to prepare, like, my finances for whenever I'm getting out. And it's hard to maintain that when you're focused on how am I going to get the project tomorrow done? How am I going to take care of my guys? What am I going to get tasked out with? Like, is this going to be completed on time, or I have to ask more time? Is Chief going to have me do some bullshit task? Like, am I going to get yelled at by some lieutenant because I didn't reset their computer password within 5 minutes, right? Because I'm busy doing other shit. Video games is, like, my go-to. Like, the moment I walk in the door, I kiss my girlfriend, I say hi to her, I talk with her for a little bit, and then after that, like, she doesn't mind it. Like, she understands. Like, I just hop on my computer and that's it. Like, I just zone out. I forget about work. I hang out, or I just play games with buddies from work. And
she tells you she doesn't mind it.
She knows my way of coping. Yeah. I've always told her, like, if you have an issue with me playing video games, just let me know. And there's been times where she's like, hey, can you just stop playing video games and let's watch a movie? And I'm like, yeah, sure. I mean, it just really helps, though, because just, like, more personal stuff. Like, video games has been almost like my entire life. Like, I was, like, a really shy kid growing up, and, like, I kind of got, like, bullied a lot. So that was, like, my whole coping mechanism for so long. And I don't know, like, nothing else, like, really seems to work but this. Like, this is, like, my way of, like, just feeling good about myself. Like, because I think I'm okay at some games. Like, I'm better at, like, fast-paced person shooters. Like, I'm not great at squad, but I'm better at, like, Halo and Call of Duty, where I'm racking up, like, 40, 50 kills in a match or whatever, and I'm just fucking just hyping myself out, and I don't know, just, like, feel that satisfaction of, like, I'm just kicking ass. It's
right.
I don't know. It helps you zone out. It helps you forget, and it just de-stresses you. And
yeah,
the moment I hop off, I'm feeling a lot better. I talk to my girlfriend a lot more. She always tells me I seem more upbeat. So, I mean, it's nice.
And you're talking about, your command putting unrealistic expectations, or, like, these tasks that you have to complete that, oh my God, they want me to do fill in the blank XYZ in 4 days when everyone knows this is going to take at least 2 weeks. A lot of that you'll learn. Well, you'll carry that out with you, but it'll be your own personal, like, you'll set expectations for yourself. And Ed, I don't know, you can chime in if you want. I've done it. I set expectations for myself that I know are unrealistic. And then when I don't meet those expectations, I'm like, well, shit. Gaming, the expectation's been set. I don't have to I don't have to set I don't have to set a goal for myself. The game already does that for me. And that will give you that level of fulfillment, right?
Yeah, it's definitely like, like, because when you enter a match, like saying like Halo or Call of Duty, right? Your entire objective is just to win. It's already been set out. Like, that's the whole point of the game. Win a match, play the next one. And every time you just win one, it's like, let's do one more. Let's do one more. You just feel better about yourself. Like, I'm fucking just kicking ass. I'm just ripping out games. Just killing. You feel like you're just killing it. It's just, I don't know. It's like that that feeling of self-satisfaction that you don't really get from work, because this is something that's very common, I feel like, at least on my ship. I'm sure it is common for you guys. You don't ever hear these people tell you enough. Like, good job. Way to go. Like, way to do what you're doing. Like, at least for my job, like, I know I can be, like, at least the shit I've been doing on board, I'm doing, like, what contractors are doing on board. And these contractors who come on board to, like, either help fix stuff or break stuff, they're getting paid $80,000, $90,000 to do. And I'm getting paid half that, a third of that.
Right.
And you don't get that, like, I built, I'm building a whole fucking server for our ship because nobody's going to be able to take leave unless I do this.
Right.
And usually we have a tech come out and do it because it's not like a ship force thing. Like, this is all new stuff I've been learning. And, like, the only things I've gotten is from my LPO. He's an E6. And here's a big thing that a lot of people don't really know about the Navy that's really different from, like, the Army, Marines, and stuff like that. E5s and E4s and below don't mean shit. And E5 and, like, the Marines, holy shit, dude. Like, they're in charge of a lot of shit, a lot more stuff than like the Navy.
Well,
but like your E6 is usually gonna be like your LPO. Yeah, like your E6 is like your LPO, which is like E6 is like the equivalent of like a sergeant in the Marines, really, or like the Army or whatever.
Yeah.
Like they lead like a small group of people, about like 10, 12 people, or like they're in charge of those guys, and that's all I do. Out of like my chief, who's an E7, who runs our tire shop, my lieutenant, who pretty much communicates with my chief, and my ensign, or I guess lieutenant junior grade, so like my O2. Like between those three, like they don't really care much. They just want results, and that's all I care about. No thank yous, no like, hey man, you're fucking killing it. Like, the only time you hear that is from your junior enlisted around you, and you don't even hear that much sometimes.
Yeah.
So video games is like a real nice way to like replace that level of like self-satisfaction, like I fucking did something, or like it may not be about your work, but you did it. Like you played a video game, you fucking like just want to fucking like you clutched a match, like that level of self-satisfaction, like just I almost feel like intensifies if like you just been killing it at work and nobody's like recognized it but yourself.
Right.
So I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's a great way to.
I see what you're getting at, and it's also the team going, oh my god, that clutch play, dude, and it just makes you feel good, right?
Oh yeah.
And we're going to touch on
100%.
that. We're going to touch on that later on down the list. I'm going to keep this moving just for time's sake, because Eski liked to tell us about his whole ship's chain of command. Hopefully they aren't listening. Hey,
that's fine.
If your senior chief is listening to this podcast for some reason, he doesn't know who Eski is, right? Your name isn't like
no.
Esquivel. Is it Esquivel?
No, not even close. Not even close.
All right, Zombie, same question. Just to kind of rewind it back, we're talking about using video games as adaptive coping. Zombie, how have you noticed yourself using video games as a coping method? Has it been helpful?
Well, I've noticed that Eski has intensified my anxiety because I've been sitting here for 10 minutes having this run in my head. I was self-quarantining and putting my brain into video games for the last 2 decades. I played video games as a kid. I got my first computer whenever I was like 13 or 14. I buried myself to get out of schoolwork and stuff. And I didn't have any problems back then, but it was still, I think, considered a coping thing for high school. Playing MechWarrior online and being part of communities then. And while I was in the service, I didn't have a lot of free time because the way my work worked was we would constantly be out repairing generators. We're doing maintenance. We're doing this and that. And it was 10 to 12 hour days, 5 days a week. And since I was the low man, I got tasked with weekend bullshit that they would have. And whenever I got out, I went back to that. Well, I need to do something while I'm out, between drinking and whoring and just the general, young guy sort of thing. I always tried to have a computer and to be a part of some community. Got back in MechWarrior. The cool thing is my FaT is blood right. It's something that you got to earn in the game. And I've carried this for about 15 years. Part of my user tag. I cope very. It's kind of like a double-edged sword. I bury myself in video games now over the last 4 or 5 years, especially in this community and with my Dungeons and Dragons, the server that I play on there. And it helps me, but where the double edge comes in, I have that social interaction with other people. And some people don't like me. I don't like some people. I have people on block. I try to bury myself into the game, but I get so buried where, it pisses me off, or it pisses other people off. Or I got to worry, like with this community here, the people getting banned and then put on there, and it shows toxicity. So then I got to worry of like, okay, my anxiety is, am I doing toxic shit? Am I going to get removed from this community? Is this something that is going to stressfully affect me? And it's kind of like a high and low constantly interacting with people socially online.
You talk about the social highs and lows, and again, we're gonna touch on socializing here in a little bit, but I wanted to expound on that just a tad because I think that's really interesting. You can absorb yourself into something that began as a positive, and it very quickly become a negative. So, are you bring it up, so you're obviously cognizant of it. Is it something that you can pull yourself away from and say, okay, I need to take a step back and put myself back into reality, or is it something that you find yourself getting lost in?
It's a hindsight thing. One of my biggest issues is I replay shit in my mind over and over and over. It can be the smallest thing, a comment somebody makes. At the time, I don't think about it, but later on, it starts replaying. I was like, that asshole said what? And then
You can't let it go. It flashes by, but then later on, you're like, hold on.
And I feel that 100%. I don't know if you guys do it. This is kind of a benign example, but somebody says, "Hey man, how's your day going?" You're like, "You too." And then the rest of the day, you're like, "Why did I say that? Like, he asked me how my day was going. Yep. I said,
or
you
like,
too. Do I not know how to speak
like,
English?"
Or like some waiter's like, "Enjoy your food." And you're like, "Yeah, you too." And you're like, "Oh man, I'm a fucking idiot."
Yeah. So like I said, that's kind of a benign example. Obviously, it's not, all consuming about something maybe a little more negative, but same thing. I'll replay that over and over, and I get stuck in mind loop where I can't stop thinking about it. I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, the hindsight thing is very real. Zombie, did you have anything else?
The cake is a lie. I am my turn.
All right. So just I kind of jumped in on everybody's, but yeah, uh, my coping methods, when I first got out was very much, drinking and partying, doing the typical I just got out of the brains, I'm fucking cool as shit. And a lot of that didn't work. That brings us to the next question that I have for y'all. What are some other coping methods that you've tried that didn't work, or maybe didn't work as well? Zombie, you talked about really throwing yourself into gaming. Have you guys thrown yourself into another outlet that maybe didn't end up as well or wasn't as healthy as finding a gaming community? Burnt?
So that's where I wanted to bring up my double-edged sword on this of going in so hard, and it's been something I've been working on turning around. Because I've got two main ones, and one is the gaming is actually a coping method that has affected me negatively as it has positively. Positively was from question one was to me, but only me. Negatively was everyone around me, including my wife. Um, so that part of when I was getting out and I was just absorbing into games, I mean, I was kind of on Eski's level, but even worse. I would say hi and then straight to the computer. And it was to the point where my wife felt she didn't exist anymore. And nowadays it's more of a joke. She calls my computer my girlfriend, and that I treat my girlfriend better than I treat my wife. But I do feel that because that it took a while to really notice like how much I was trying to get out of reality. I was leaving the people that cared, gave a shit about my existence. I was cutting them out. And that was hurting them, and I didn't realize it. So that's why now, like, I'm trying to find ways that I can turn my love and passion for video games and the ability that video games gives me to stay out of reality, turn it into something beneficial, like a job. I'm on 80% disability, so I do have a very good income for where I live. Um, it's actually almost triple what my wife makes at her current job, even with her promotion she just got. And that's sad, in my opinion. But at the same time, sure, I'm sitting here, I'm playing video games, I breathe, and I get paid. I don't have to do anything. That also comes in negatively, where I'm like, hey, I'm still making money. Why can't I sit and play my games while you're at work? The jealousy of other people comes in then that they have to fucking work their ass off. And don't get me wrong, of course, I'm sure all of us, we felt that in while we were in, and now we're kind of just getting what we get. But for the people on the outside that don't understand, is like they're sitting here day in, day out, working a full-time job, working overtime, and they're getting paid scraps on a lot of hourly jobs. My wife's definitely there, and it's turned my time of where I'm here gaming, not worrying about getting a job because my disability pays for everything I need, more than enough that she hates it even more that this is what I sit at home and do, and it's caused a rift between us, which I'm glad that is been starting to come to a close. That's been one that I've been fixing. Is now seeking ways I can make money, content creation, streaming, doing stuff with the modding team of trying like working with Jet to try to get into the development industry of maybe being a story writer of scenes and stuff like that. Work on my ability there to make this positive now and take it away from being a negative and a double-edged sword. The other one is one of the more common ones, drinking. That got really bad as well. The drinking definitely took me down the hole. Starting from my first deployment on. First deployment, we literally had nothing else other to do than the fact that we were in Japan. It was just a UDP. My first deployment wasn't shit. I was Okinawa, then to mainland Japan, then to Korea, then back to Oki, then back home. We had so much fucking time on our hands that we literally sat there, and me and my buddies, we'd go each purchase our own 30 rack and see who would be the last one to finish it before work the next day. And it was just stuff like that that transitioned even more so as I was getting out. I was still on that a high amount of drinking, along with my video games and avoiding other people and cutting them out, that I became very toxic. Luckily enough, I had enough self-control that I wouldn't hurt a fly, but I definitely made my second apartment look like it got hit by a tornado. A couple times when my anger management issues came out, and I was drunk, and just a button was pushed by either my wife or someone else. Like, I almost destroyed half of the wall in my kitchen when I lost my shit once. And that's why it took a while. Well, it didn't take a while. It took a while to get away from the drinking and the alcohol and remind myself, like, how easy it is for me to get sucked in. But it was a very quick decision of, okay, I need to stop. But then it was like that stop and miss. And then the other one was smoking. Picked up smoking because it was the same thing like everyone else, PTSD or your head, the anxiety. Your head's in a fucked up place, and my corpsman was just like, hey, I can take you to the doc right now, and you can go on antidepressants and all this other fucking pharmacy worth of pills now, and have your military career fucked. Because at the time I wanted to do it in the long run. I didn't want it one term and done. Or you can take this cigarette, shut the fuck up, and just chill out. And I did that, and from then on, 4.5 years, I was smoking, and it hurt me again, hurt everyone else around me. The secondhand smoking wasn't good for my wife, wasn't good for my dog, wasn't good for my family, my friends. A lot of people hated it. And actually, just recently, I finally quit. It's been 2 months since my last cigarette.
That's awesome.
So those are some of the coping methods for me that I tried, didn't work, or I'm still doing them and they're providing a negative that I'm trying to turn to a positive.
And isn't it funny that sometimes combat medicine just means your doc giving you a cigarette?
Yeah, that's actually, I always thought it was funny that I told him. I was like, when someone asked me, so what got you smoking? Oh, I was prescribed to smoke cigarettes instead of taking pills.
Yeah.
And just the question mark that comes up on a civilian's face of, what? Someone prescribed you cigarettes?
I'm
like,
sorry.
yeah,
me no comprehend.
Yeah, and then it was the same thing. It's like taking medicine from military and my personal passion. It's a side thing, but going with that and pulling it in and just knowing I'm hurting myself, and it took that realization to finally stop.
Yeah,
But then
the fact that you can make that realization, and even more so the fact that you're able to, like, publicly say, you know, this is something that didn't work, this is why it didn't work, and this is me recognizing that it doesn't work. A lot of people can't do that, and my hope is that even if 100 people listen to this podcast, somebody hears a story like that and says, you know what, that's what I need to do, you know?
I mean, it took me 15, 16 attempts at quitting.
Yeah.
I didn't last a day, some of them. Sometimes I got 2 weeks, and then I would just fucking randomly was pissed off and was like, I need a cigarette.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's I'll end my turn on that one for number 2, because I've got some more stuff to the rest of the questions.
Cool. Ed?
I didn't know it was a coping method, but it was definitely drinking when I got out, and it started after my first deployment. First deployment was really rough. We lost a lot of guys from my platoon and from my squad in particular, and I lost my squad leader who I'd looked up to since like day one in the fleet, and it just he got back and it was just drinking, because we knew drinking before we left as fun when everyone was there. So I was like, all right, well, let's just get back to drinking and having fun, and it just became a lot after that first deployment, and then again after the second deployment. And there were days where we'd get off of work, go to PX, grab a bottle of Jack, finish it that night, wake up, PT, and repeat. And one of our guys literally drank himself into the fucking hospital. His kidney shut down. Got red last rites and everything. But while we were home, it was unbelievable. So I guess it was drinking, and I didn't know if I was using it to cope or not, but I must have been. And when I got home, I continued drinking, and I just slowly kind of phased out of it. Had like an oh shit moment one time, and I went to go pick up my sister from the train station, and on the way back, I realized, Jesus fucking Christ, I'm still fucking drunk. I was like, I shouldn't even be driving. And it was kind of that made me slow the fuck down and like kind of knock it off with the drinking. So that's mainly it. Most of my other coping methods, I would say, worked quite well. Shooting, going to the gym. I left the military. I was, J Dub knows. We Marines were taught to shoot very well, and it was one of the few things I could do when I got out that translated into the civilian world. So I just kept shooting and shot competitively, still do shoot competitively, and do all right for myself. So shooting works. And yeah, now that I have gaming's another one of my things that I like to turn to. But it's rare. It's rare that I have bad days anymore because it's been so long. I've had so long to get used to things. It's very rare that I have a bad day.
And that's awesome. And again, being able to look back and say, this is what didn't work, this is what did work, and I've got this long timeline to look at and say, yeah, my life has gotten better throughout this time. Speaking to somebody who might be just getting out, or even to Esky, who's going to be getting out soon, don't look at it as a one-day accomplishment of saying, I quit smoking, but then I started the next day, like what Burnt was talking about. Look back and say, I've made these changes over the past X amount of time. Continue to build on that, continue to get better. Esky, any coping methods that don't work for you that you've noticed yourself doing?
Shit. I guess a couple things feels like, I don't know, like I always kind of felt like working out would always help me out, but I don't know, I guess it just was never really like my thing. Like I feel like better like self-confidence wise, but it wasn't like, man, I'm forgetting about work because I'm like, all right, I'm sore now.
You weren't able
This
to
is
really
gonna fucking
lose
suck
yourself
for tomorrow. Yeah, like I was like, this is gonna fucking suck tomorrow whenever I go into work, and it was just like it didn't help, and I don't know, I couldn't, I just didn't stick with it. One thing that I'm trying to kick the bucket on is to quit drinking as much. I don't drink as much as the other people. Like
like us, like the top
like I'll
girl
have
right
like
now.
Yeah, like so like I'll have one, maybe two. I'll have at least like one a night. Then I'll have like one or two like every 2 days or so.
I kind of want to chime in about the other people.
So I don't know. It's just kind of like that, I guess.
The thing where you think that other people are separate from you is not really true. We all have different degrees on which we feel things, or we take things in, or what helps us out. And whenever you either consciously or subconsciously say other people, you're putting that separation in. And I think it's more healthy to think of yourself as a group of people rather than saying other people.
I'll definitely agree with that. It took me some time to realize too, like, I'm not alone in this. Like, there's a bunch of people going through this too. There's people that I knew that went through this. Like my grandpa, he wasn't active. He was National Guard, but he was there for the Watts riots. And I realized for him, when he was done, I went through the same path he did. And that helped with knowing I'm not the first, I'm not the last. We're all going through this shit. We're all going to continue to go through this shit. But we can be here together. That will help.
Yeah, and Esky, I'm not pointing you out in a negative way. I'm just trying to let you know that you're not alone.
Oh yeah, no,
we've all had those stresses where chain of command is just horrid.
Yeah, and
I think like my oh sorry, I was gonna say like I think like my tipping point for like alcohol that I just kind of realized that like I kind of relied on too much was probably during deployment, because after being out for like, because a lot of people are like, oh, being on a ship's not too bad, you know. It's like I was telling you guys earlier, it's a fucking
the
prison pretty
worst.
much. After being out for like 40 days and it's your first port, like I got blackout fucking drunk. So like thank God I was with somebody else that was actually like responsible. I got like blackout drunk. I don't remember half the shit I did, and I ended up like eating shit real bad, like bruising 2 bones on like identical spots, like on my fucking elbows on each arm after like eating shit. Like I don't know. At that point, I was like, oh shit, like I really shouldn't do this again, like ever.
All right, Zombie.
Relationships.
You talking about like pursuing a relationship that you know is completely
Like it, yeah. Where you bounce between, relationship to relationship, and there's either from drinking, and I've never had an issue with alcohol, and I'm saying that legitimately and reflective. I could drink and then I could stop. I never did back to back days, or I might drink once a month. That was never my problem. My problem was going out to the bars and picking up randoms, and sometimes they would develop into, oh, okay, I'm going to see you more than once, and that didn't help me. Either in a physical light or in a mental light, because I was looking for a connection, and the connections weren't there. And I just didn't see them at the time. Most of the women that I dated were, lot lizards, or barflies, or, they were either just as fucked up or more fucked up than I am.
Yeah, and that's that's a common thing that you see a lot too, in not just veterans but anybody that has some kind of trauma in their life. They always point. You can go the old Dr. Phil route. Well, your daughter's promiscuous because of the trauma she faced when she was a kid. And you can go that psychobabble route. That's just like this perfect point the finger. But it's true. I mean, drinking and promiscuity and finding relationships and just empty relationships tends to be a common theme among people who have had some kind of trauma or anxiety.
Don't get me wrong though. Sex is an amazing escape. It's just the before and after is what doesn't really work.
Yeah. It's all leading up to that one moment, and then I'm sure we can all use our deductive reasoning to figure out what that moment is. And once it's over, it's like, oh, gross! I'm a disgusting creature.
Yep.
So cool. We spent the last 20-30 minutes talking, bringing up some negative points and kind of touching on some inner soft spots. Let's roll it up and kind of get a little more on the positive side. The next area of this study, we talked about the 3 areas related to recovery: adaptive coping, eudaimonic well-being, and socializing. So the next area of the study focuses on eudaimonic well-being. I had to Google that. Eudaimonia has been examined by Plato, Socrates, and Aristotle, and essentially means our overall happiness, whether it's the pursuit of happiness or just achieving a fulfilled life. Eudaimonia is your ability to be happy. An example for me, when I was playing Squad a lot, I really enjoyed that game because of the long, drawn-out struggle. And one of the cool things about Squad, there is no stat tracking. You don't have a KD ratio. You don't have a win-loss record. You don't have anything at the end of the game besides that round. So at the end of the round, you always go back and be like, yeah, that fight for that cap point was insane. We worked well together. We did everything right. We flanked the enemy. We did this. That's awesome. So bringing it back to gaming on a positive front, what brings you that fulfillment, that overall happiness? just give me a specific example, something in gaming that really, like at the end of it, you're like, damn, that was cool. Another one for me, Tarkov. I know we got a couple Tarkov players in here. I suck at that game. I just got it. But every once in a while, you'll run a raid and come out with like, a couple 100,000 rubles worth of stuff in your inventory. And you're like, damn, dude, like that was so worth it. And you get that really good feeling. So yeah, we'll just start up the list again. Starting with Burnt. What are some instances that you have that you can remember filling some missing part or just giving you that overwhelming happiness in gaming?
So the thing for me that especially ties this with specifically being a veteran, and especially a grunt, like three of us are here. And actually, too, really applies to Esky and Zombie both because of the jobs they do. You need a team. You can be used alone, but you need a team, and that is teamwork aspect games. Squad, heavily. Planet side, much larger level, and very much harder to organize, but also teamwork.
So were the
Hundreds of people. Squad is teamwork from a 9-man all the way up to a 40-man team of just trying to completely overwhelm your enemy. Tarkov, I love Tarkov when you're playing with that group of dudes who you know their playstyle, they know your playstyle, you have the intrinsic communication, and you're just going through raid after raid, just fucking wiping the whole damn map. No scavs left alive, no loot on the fucking ground, no PMCs remaining. Stuff like that. GTFO, it's not a big game in Fear and Terror, but GTFO is a sci-fi horror game, first-person shooter. That is, you go in as a team of 4, and on a different level of this rundown, you have to complete a set of missions, and it's all about being stealth. Each dude has a job. You go in with a specific kit to do a specific thing, and all of you together can accomplish the overall mission. Postscriptum, it's the exact same thing as Squad. Just stuff like that where the teamwork aspect and being able to run together as a machine, each of you is a different part of that machine. Me, that is what I love and enjoy, and I miss from my brotherhood of being in the Marine Corps, working with my fucking brothers, just doing the shit, being on the ground. You know that guy on your left, that guy on your fucking right, and the dude over your shoulder in the sky is, you're all there for each other to get in, get the job done, and get the fuck home alive in one piece.
Yeah,
And it's not the same level because this is just pixels, but the mental level of having good teamwork, whether you, again, your same thing, whether you win or lose, just having that, you guys worked well together. Like me, I thrive on that. I will not play Tarkov solo. I will not go be a random blueberry in Squad. I will not solo grind on much anything other than War Thunder, and the only reason I do it in War Thunder is so I can get the stuff so I can play with other people with what they have. So we can do the teamwork, and I thrive on that, and it's something I can't find in a civilian job. I can't find that now that I've been out of the Marine Corps anywhere other than being with a community, finding good friends, and just having that team.
And you talk about, Esky and Zombie, you, me, Burnt, Ed, and I being infantry, being grunts, being Marines, there's always that inter-branch, that kind of shit talk of like, oh, you're a pug, oh, you did this, you didn't do that, whatever. But I'll tell you what, man, when we were on month 4 or 5 of our deployment to Afghanistan, I was a lot happier to see the generator guys come down than I was to see the log train bringing food, water, all that stuff, because that meant for the first time in 4 months we had AC in our tents. So,
No, that's not what I mean. I'm meaning in your groups, us as grunts, us 3, we know what it means to that dude on your left and right.
Oh no, yeah, no, I get what you're.
How much they fucking matter, but guys like Esky doing IT, guys like Zombie doing gen stuff, like they have their team that they need to work with. They've got this many tasks that need done. They have to know who's good at what. Like Eski's able to learn this new server shit, and he can get that done for his shop, and in turn the whole ship. Like
Right.
he's that dude that he doesn't get thanked vocally, but like here, like we're sitting there going, fucking thank you. Your example, AC. There's teamwork, but I'm talking inter-shop, the
Yeah.
small level.
And
not
I'm
big
talking
level.
broad scale, the big picture. There was no way that my second deployment would have gone anywhere if it hadn't have been for guys like Eski, because I was on a ship for a year. And that takes a lot of shit to run. So, yeah, on a broad scale, taking it up a notch. Yeah, there is always that teamwork, and bringing it down all the way to the micro level. That teamwork, that's your fulfillment, is working as a team and having that brotherhood.
And it's great that you kind of brought up the excited about the generator mechanic coming in and making sure you guys had power, because that means AC and all that. I didn't touch into the fact that I contracted after I got out, and I went over to Iraq, and the main source of power for the army were generators. Didn't have any towns or whatever providing it. It was generator mechanics that were doing that.
Yeah,
And the teamwork aspect comes in to where you're trying to wrangle up the army fuelmen to make sure they get in time to refill that fucking generator so that there's continued power. And teamwork applied to real life or the video games is definitely on that same level.
yeah, bring it up to that macro level of going not just the squad, but where your squad is in there in squad, and you're working a couple specific buildings on an objective to try to hold the south flank of East Novo, while the enemy are pushing in from the north. But having that dude who's driving the Logi or flying the Helo now that we have for the progressing squad, coming in and getting you a fob setup, getting you that ammo that you need to resupply so your lats can kill that fucking BTR and do that work.
Spoiler alert, if you guys haven't played Squad in a while, there's Helos now.
Old news, J-Dub.
Oh shit, sorry. Hey man, I'm just letting people know, spoiler alert. Maybe you haven't turned the game on in 5-8 months,
But the thing it boils down to is I think what you're burnt just listening to what you just said. I think what you're most happy about is having that communication structure in the game to where you can work as a team.
Yeah, that's the part I thrive on, period. It's just team play. I can't do video games solo. To me, it's incomprehensible how people can fucking play a video game by themselves and just go lone wolf and enjoy that. I don't get it.
It's like,
it doesn't make sense to me.
Well,
it's like the difference between masturbation and sex. I mean, which one's better?
Yeah, how many D&D campaigns have you been on, Zombie, by yourself?
Oh, by myself? 0.
Exactly.
But I can tell you exactly how many I've played online. 108 between 2 different characters.
We might need to have a whole nother separate podcast about this, because I was introduced to D&D last summer and never really
I've been
got
wanting to get
into
into
it
that.
because we didn't have anybody to play with. So maybe we'll let's shelf that conversation, and we might end up touching on that a little bit later or in another episode. Let me roll this down the list here. Let's go to Ed. What's your full holy shit.
Spit it out.
Speaking of gaming, in relation to gaming, what is your I'm fulfilled moment?
With squad, it's 2 things. It's taking a bunch. It's when squad leading. I kind of enjoy that every once in a while when you take a bunch of randoms and you get them to work together and to take an objective, hold an objective, and it's that coordination between controlling your guys and coordinating with the other squads. I find that pretty fulfilling sometimes because I was infantry. I was a squad leader, so I did that with a lot of my guys. I was in charge of the platoon for a little while, so putting the pieces of the squads together and putting them out there as well. That's pretty fulfilling. And then on the flip side of that coin is where I can just sit back and not be in charge. I can just play as a rifleman, or I can just play as a machine gunner, and I can just I don't have to think. I can just do what I'm told, go where I'm told, and just be a mindless killing machine. So I get those kind of fulfillments from both sides of the coin, you could say. One being a complete control, and the other being just doing what the fuck I'm told, which is nice as well. I guess, you get used to that in the military. It's kind of simple. But it's funny what Burnt said. There's times where I just want to be alone. I play Tarkov solo a lot, and it's usually because I can't stand playing with other people that don't know how to play the game and aren't on the same level of mindset as us. But I guess that's because we're, used to thinking a certain way and been trained to do certain things in the real world that do carry over. So, yeah, those are my fulfillment moments there.
Right on. Yeah, I understand what you're talking about, Tarkov, because, like I said, I just got the game a couple weeks, I guess a month and a half or so ago. So this is my first wipe, and there have been some challenges, especially with that game, learning, hey, baby, don't shoot your friend in the face, because he's going to yell at you, like yesterday. Yeah. Perfect example yesterday, just turning and seeing somebody and blasting him. Yeah, Tarkov can be a challenge, but I understand, like, playing solo. I like story games a lot. I don't get into like RPGs for the RPG aspect. Usually when I play some kind of RPG game, whether it be, The Witcher or like Skyrim, any of the Elder Scrolls games, I usually play it on the easiest difficulty, not because I'm afraid of the challenge, but because I want to play it for the story of it, so I can immerse myself in it. So yeah, I understand the solo gaming thing. It has a niche, and it does kind of help.
I also want to amend my statement. In massive multiplayer games, I can't understand soloing. I can understand soloing in something that's designed to be soloed, like an RPG, for the story, stuff like that. Like, of course,
go back and change your answer now that we've
no, I love The Witcher and everything else, but I'm saying in games that are designed to be played a lot of people, and it's not NPCs, it's all players.
Right.
I don't understand how you can sit there and just do.
Dub is not gonna edit that in, so you're stuck with the previous statement, right?
I'm actually gonna edit the second one out, and then we're just gonna tell everybody that Burnt hates being alone in games, and he hates RPGs.
Fuck you!
Like, Burnt actually said anybody who plays an RPG is a loser nerd with no friends.
I heard it.
You heard it here, folks. All right, Eski, give us your rundown. What's your hit home fulfillment moment in a game?
I don't know. Like, I guess winning a competitive match, like when I played Halo, I would play like mostly competitive matches because I just love like that quick thinking. Like, there's a lot of critical thinking going on. Like, how are we gonna like how, like, at least for like Reach, it was like, when are we gonna pull flag? When are we gonna, like, how many people are up on the enemy team? Like, who are we gonna, like, are we gonna outslay? Are we gonna wait? Who's got snipes? What time is snipes up? Just shit like that. And a lot of it just requires like a lot of thinking, critical thinking, and quick thinking. And a lot of that also has to do with troubleshooting. Like, the network went down one day for like almost like 18 hours or something like that. And that, like, I was on duty that day, and I was the only one left troubleshooting. And a lot of that was just critical thinking and just understanding, all right, what could possibly be causing the issue. And I don't know, ever since that moment, I've just always gained like a lot more respect towards competitive shooter games, just because it requires like an immense amount of just critical thinking and quick thinking. So like any moment I'm playing like competitive, like right now I'm playing Warzone with some buddies, and they're pissed off at me because they can't hear me. But but like, I love this shit because like you gotta like coordinate with your team, and even if I'm not like speaking, you still gotta like just calling out where items are at and shit like that. It's, I don't know. I have a respect for that. I have a respect for people who play like competitive, just because they they do a lot of that critical thinking stuff.
Yes, it kind of seems like we're all coming back to the same point. And Zombie, I'll let you go here just a second. But that team play, being able to work together to accomplish a common goal. Go ahead, Zombie. What you got on this one?
I'm going to be the devil's advocate. I love the games that are complete shit shows, be it Squad or D&D, where you just derail an entire campaign off whatever the DM wants to do. With Squad, like, you get that team that doesn't communicate. You could be sitting there in command comms and nobody saying anything. And the reason why I love being in situations like that is because when everything does work, it makes me appreciate more that we have the team play and that, you know, we have the communication and the game's going good for everyone. You know, I don't play the game to necessarily win. I play the games to communicate and bullshit and waste my time. And by wasting my time, I'm meaning, you know, just sitting in here and not having to think about anything else and not having to worry about the outside world.
Being able to unplug, yeah. Which, you know, we talked about that a lot in our first little segment there. You know, being able to disconnect and just find that release. So a lot of this has been focused on gaming. When you guys aren't gaming, hobbies, work, what are some of the other activities that give you that same level of fulfillment, happiness, or feeling of accomplishment? For me, summer's not my favorite season. Most of you guys know, I think Esky, it's not you. It's somebody else gives me a lot of shit because I always bring up the fact that I work at a ski resort.
No, that's me.
Oh, it is you. Yeah. I get it. You work at a resort. But I'm a snowboard instructor, and one of my favorite things, my level of fulfillment is kind of two-sided. One, my personal development as a rider and as a teacher. You know, going out and getting in the terrain park and riding for 4 or 5 hours in the terrain park and just doing lap after lap, trying to land a trick or do something that you've been working on, and then you finally land it. It's like, damn, like, that was awesome. You know, that's my fulfillment. And on the teaching side, you know, I get a ton of people. You know, our resort's in northern New Mexico, and I always make the joke that we're the finest ski resort in in West Texas because basically all of our clientele are from Texas. And if you get somebody who's an accountant from North Dallas that drives a Tesla and, you know, lives in an apartment, the steepest hill they've ever seen is probably, you know, the stairs leading up to their third floor apartment.
Yep.
So they come out and they're like, you know, they can't even walk on snow. And then you strap this piece of wood and metal and fiberglass to the bottom of their feet, and they just spontaneously shit their pants, you know. But give me 4 hours with these people, and they're like, oh my God, you know, I'm 30, 40, 50 years old. I never thought I would do this. And they're doing it. And that's a reflection on me as an instructor, on our ski school, you know, as teaching me how to be a better instructor. But yeah, being able to watch somebody grow and take on a sport. You know, a lot of people learn a sport when they're a little kid. And I always use this analogy that, you know, when you're a kid, your parents put you in baseball camp for 4 summers, and it's a continuous development, and you might be decent at baseball by the time you're in high school. With this, I'm taking somebody who has never even seen snow, and in 4 hours, they're learning how to do a new sport. And that, to me, is just like, that's that moment. So, starting again, Burnt, what's outside of video games, what gives you that same level of fulfillment?
So mine is usually just off the cuff teaching someone something, especially management level. Because one of my later billets before I got out was I was basically put in charge of a entire section of Camp Horno, Camp Pendleton. And when I realized the account worth of that, I was like, holy shit, and this is all mine. And it wasn't just that, but I was in charge of working with our Marines and sailors and making sure all of they took care of their shit and our shit worked for them how it was supposed to. There's a few $1 billion of buildings, offices, vehicles, all the other shit, the gym and everything that I managed. And sometimes just running into friends. Like I frequent a bar nearby, and I know everyone in the staff. They know me, and it's usually not even going there to have a drink. I just go to play pool because they have a 9-foot pool table, and I love the crowd, I love the atmosphere, and I love everyone who works there, and I find them all to be great friends. Especially the manager. He's been doing it for a long time, but sometimes we're just talking, and he's giving me some shit about like, because he can let some of the weight off his shoulders just talking with me because I get it and stuff that's going on. I'm like, well, why don't you try this, or why don't you do this, or why don't you contact this guy for a contract to do this? Just being able to put those off the cuff ideas to someone in management, and they feel like they're out of their realm because they can do their job, but the management aspect of running a building, running a business, and managing people under you, that's the foreign concept to them because they're not the most experienced in it. And just being able to help them out to understand, like, and to the other way of telling some of my friends, including my wife, like, this is how your management is supposed to work. They're there to be your boss. At the same time, your boss's job is to be there to support you in your job. Like telling her when, actually 2 days ago now, she just got promoted because the large level Starbucks corporate um, positions came to this region to start checking on some of the stores because there's stuff going on. And she just decided to find. I told her, I was like, while they're there, make sure you open your mouth. Their job is to be there and to listen to you and make your job easier. So, because in the real big picture, Starbucks wants more money. They need more profits. The way they do that is by making your life easier, making you able to work your job better. You can put out more production. That's money, right? Well, I tell her, talk to them. Let them know there's bullshit in the store. Let them know your management sucks and they're not doing their job being a manager for you, and see what happens. What does she do? She gets the balls. She calls out all of her management. She calls out some of her fellow employees, and she catches a promotion out of it because of necessity. They're like, well, fuck, if we're going to fire this many shift leads, we need a new shift lead. And then not only that, just a whole reform happens, and now this store is on track to being one of the highest profit stores for Starbucks on the West Coast.
Yeah,
And
that's something that I think more people should do, and this is kind of deviating away from what we're talking about, but
well, for me, that's where I thrive, is outside of games, is giving people advice of how things work when they just don't realize that's how it works.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's deviating away from gaming, but management in general, people who have that ability to question and ability to go against the grain. Yeah, that does provide a huge like boost in confidence when you can say, I know my job. Not only do I know my job, I know your job. And not only do I know your job, but I know it better than you. Like that is a huge big dick energy move. Ed, let's roll right on to you.
I get an immense amount of fulfillment outside of gaming from firearms instruction. So I touched on it before that I shoot competitively, and I enjoy the aspect of teaching and learning. I'm always learning new things, how to do things better, and I'm always passing those things on. I'm fortunate enough to have been invited to teach and be one of the coaches on the West Point Combat Weapons team. It's West Point's fairly close to where I live, so 2 to 3 nights a week I'll go up there during the school year, and we'll instruct the combat weapons team with another instructor, with 2 other instructors, and some military staff as well. But surprisingly enough, there's not many people in the military that have the experience of law enforcement, competitive shooting, and the military, and how to blend all three of those together to make some really supreme shooters. These kids come in, really green behind the ears. Some of them can shoot a rifle okay, because that's what they learned in their little, 3-week basic course before they got to West Point. But the pistol skills are non-existent, and by the time they're ready to graduate, we've had professional level shooters come in and been impressed and shocked with how well some of these senior cadets can shoot. They're some of the top level shooters for their age group in the country, and they go and they compete at a 6 hour. They have their national championship up there, and they compete against other teams. So I get immense amount of fulfillment. Like I said, teaching firearms instruction to these guys and watching them succeed and progress and even get, better than me. And I also enjoy going out and being a student and learning as well.
Yeah, teaching, learning, mentoring, sharing knowledge, whether you're the one sharing or whether you're being shared with, I think a lot of people can kind of share that same sentiment, that being able to provide a benefit to someone else's life. And, you can round that back and say that's the reason why we all joined the military in the first place was, seeing something more than self, being duty driven. And, I think that's something that we all share. And if you did a sample poll of the military across all the branches, all the jobs, everything, I think that would be a pretty common factor, that teaching, sharing, mentoring, that shared knowledge for somebody else's benefit. I think that's a pretty common theme. Eski, what have you got on this one?
Eski.
Zombie, what have you got on this one? Eski's going pot.
So I touched on how.
Sorry, I'm an idiot. My Discord is muted.
No, go ahead, Eski. You go first.
The good thing is I can edit all this out.
So, something I kind of feel accomplished about is just, I don't know, skating's been kind of interesting to me, so skating's kind of nice.
Skating?
I don't know, just trying to practice an ollie and...
Skateboarding.
Yeah, skateboarding, sorry.
I thought figure skating, I was like Blades of Glory, the Will Ferrell movie.
I thought it fit.
Yeah, I could totally see Eski in a really bedazzled navy white dress uniform, doing some... Now the Summer Olympics are canceled due to COVID, but we still have a chance to get Eski on the Winter American Olympic figure skating team. So...
I thought about it.
GoFundMe.com/Kickstarter/Eski in tights. Look it up. We need $700 million to get Eski into the Winter Olympics 2022.
Just break my ankle
Tanya
Harding.
Insert take my money now.
Yeah. We'll throw that meme up on the screen for this. All right, Eski, go ahead. Skateboarding.
I don't know, just being able to practice an ollie and then fucking nail it's kind of nice. Cause I'm kind of new to it. It's something I've been wanting to do besides video game lately, and I got buddies who all do it and they get me motivated to do it. So it's nice.
Where are you?
Because they're all around the same level as me. Washington State.
If you ever make your way down to northern New Mexico, pretty much everybody up here that snowboards also skateboards. So you could have a blast. We'll get you all ready for the Winter Olympics. Don't worry.
Don't forget, I'm still coming down in February, bud.
Hey, dude. So far, I've only had one fat guy come down. So.
I know, but you put out that event.
Yeah, the Winterfest. Military Winterfest. We'll use that as a plug. I wonder if I can get my resort to sponsor this podcast. All right, Zombie.
Shit.
I touched on earlier how I was quarantining way before it was cool. I don't get out of my house. One of the things that I try to work on is uh, getting past my front yard. It's one of the things that the shrink said that I could work on. So as far as fulfillment, the same level, there's not really anything close to that level with me burying myself in the computer. I do fish. I live next to a large lake, and I get out and do that. And I guess whenever I get a mess of fish, I feel, fulfilled that I'm providing for my family. Interacting with my family, my direct family, my nieces, my nephews, and having that outside social interactions is fulfilling to me.
Yeah, and you touched on not leaving your house. People can find those small accomplishments. Like you said, your shrink told you this, but to somebody who has any kind of what is it, agoraphobia? Am I quoting the right word?
Agoraphobia?
Do I look smart enough to have this big word conversation to you?
Well, you look like a black box with a skull face thing. So I don't know what you actually look like. Maybe we could get a live stream up and going sometime. But yeah, finding those little accomplishments. It doesn't always have to involve other people. We all kind of touched on the teaching and mentoring. Eski went into skateboarding. Personal achievements. You talked about fishing. There are things that we can do alone that can give us that same level of happiness. So the third area that they talk about in this study, and in my opinion, is the most important, socializing. I know getting out of the military leaves a lot of veterans with this feeling like, fuck, I'm all alone out here. I have nobody else. There's obviously a huge stigma on counseling and mental health services. We all know that VA can be dog shit at times. The guys that got out, how have you kept up with old friends, battle buddies? Actually, there's no Army guys in here, so we don't have to call them battle buddies. That's an Army thing. How have you guys kept up with old friends through gaming? We'll start with that question right there.
So not through gaming per se, just because I haven't had a chance for my buddy and me to get on the PlayStation at the same time. But one of my buddies, he committed the R word and ended up going and getting stationed at Quantico. So I keep up with him, chat with him a lot. Other times I rep out for my old battalion a lot. Like help him out with organizing civil. I work with my old shop, to organize stuff like their Marine Corps ball and whatnot. Make sure their venues are secure and give them ideas of who they can take, where they can save some money. Just go get old and see my boys who are still in. A lot of the guys who got out, they're off doing their own thing. I've lost a lot of contact with them, but I still see them around through social media mostly. Really not a whole lot of keeping up with anyone through gaming, mainly just making newer friends, meeting new people through like Fear and Terror and whatnot, like everyone here.
Yeah. Ed, have you been able to keep up with any old friends through gaming?
In the beginning, it was one or two off of Xbox, but we were the guys I was closest with. Fortunately, live close by in Jersey and Pennsylvania. We're all within an hour and a half, 2 hours of each other, so we didn't need to continue through gaming. We were just able to drive over and hang out. I have made a few veteran friends through gaming. Probably a few more now that we're doing this podcast thing. But I've run into Zombie before and a few other veterans that are out there in Fear and Terror. I've always been okay. No, that's not true. I'm okay with talking to some people in the beginning. There's people I won't talk with things about. Vets I will. But the anonymity, is that how you say it? Of my online
anonymity, and we hadn't quite gotten there just yet. But that's a good segue. Mostly, I'm just saying, have you guys been able to keep up with friends through gaming? Zombie.
So the majority the majority of my issues stem from an extremely hostile work environment. 3.5 years of being stuck with, verbally and physically abusive assholes. So no, I do not keep up with any of them.
Zombies flipped this whole entire thing on its head. Every question that we all have kind of a common answer for, Zombies got something different, and I really appreciate that. So Eski, you're still in, so that question literally could apply to you in no way, shape, or form.
I mean,
Well, no, it can't apply to him. Guys who have changed ship or gotten out before he has.
Yeah, change a duty station or
Yeah.
maybe some of your seniors. Have you kept up with them?
yeah, I've kept up with a couple people who've already left the ship. Like one guy who was one of our when we were underway, he was like in charge of our shift. I'll play video games every now and then with him. He's actually contracting now, and he's a civilian contractor for like technical stuff. He's actually overseeing he's now taking the spot of this other guy who's overseeing our entire ship's like upgrade right now. So we see him all the time coming to the ship. Just now, not in uniform. He's out now. He's a contractor. So it's kind of cool to see that. But I see him all the time playing like Call of Duty or some shit. So I mean that's always cool. But I don't know, and I don't know. I feel like you don't have to be away from people in order to play video games with them. Like I said way earlier on, was I play video games with some buddies from work still, and like that's like a good way for us to like shoot the shit, because like you obviously always work with people you don't really like, and that's just a better way for us to communicate about not talk shit, but like communicate, and like because you want to talk about like the tea, you want that fucking tea, like the gossip and shit.
Yeah.
You can't you can't say some shit sometimes around people because they're like friends with somebody, or
like
they'll snitch.
IT2 Esquivel shits his pants on a regular basis, but you can't say that in front of IT2 Esquivel. That's Eski's real name. Oh, IT3 Esquivel.
Yeah, you're right. And no, it's not my real name.
Oh.
Yeah, I was like, hold on. He's an E4. He's not an IT2. Not yet.
No Navy.
I actually take the advancement exam in September.
Congratulations and good luck.
Good luck
if
on
there
it.
is an exam, because there's a fucking hashtag COVID. It's just might be based off my eval.
Yeah, you can't test while there's a virus. It's literally impossible, I've learned. But Ed brings up a good point. He kind of segues to the next one. Have you guys made new veteran or new friends that are in the military? Other military guys, have you made new friends through gaming? And has gaming and being in a lobby with somebody or being in game, being able to talk with that anonymity of your online persona, has that helped you with the reintegration process for the guys that have gotten out, or just helped you socialize better for the people who maybe aren't as socially dominant? Burnt?
So yeah, I already touched on that. It's not so much that the anonymity helps at all. Like, I am very much a social butterfly. I only mention my military experience if someone happens to bring it up. So other than that, like, I've always just kind of been out there. Like, I was that guy in high school that knew fucking all 6,000 students in the high school by name. I've never had trouble with that. It was mainly just like sometimes at work, a manager will say something stupid or try to ask for a task, and I'm like, you realize that's your fucking job, right? And actually, that's gotten me in a lot of trouble. With that social side of it is, in the military, we're very free speaking as long as you have the rank at the end of the sentence, right? You say whatever the fuck you want, sergeant. You can tell me to go fuck myself, but you better have a sergeant at the end of that sentence if you're going to tell me that when I was still in uniform. And okay, fine. But when I do that in the civilian world, like looking at my boss and like, you're seriously going to ask me to fucking assign shifts when that's your goddamn job? And then they're like, well, do you want to work here anymore? Fuck no, not if you're not going to do your own job. I'll take your job and you can leave, but if you don't want to give up your job, then no, I'll fucking take my walk. And that got me in a lot of trouble, was just learning how to be as open as we were and getting in that habit of really not having a filter in the military has brought some issues, especially with where I'm living at now. It's a very religious area. So unless I'm like at the bar where I know other people there are pretty open-minded and free speaking,
You heathens.
I have to watch my language
Yeah.
very heavily.
Well, you brought up
because I can offend a lot of people like with just two words, or even sometimes just saying fuck or shit. Like people are like, "Oh my god, how can you speak like that?"
Over the last minute, Bert has offended me 2 times.
Yeah, Burnt. I'm calling HR. Do we have an HR department?
Don't call Killer Mommy. Don't call Killer Mommy,
Yeah,
please.
Killer is HR. You brought up a good point. You said, unless somebody directly asks you if you're in the military, you don't really bring it up. And that is that anonymity. Being able to talk to somebody and them not even know. Bringing it back to work, I'm sure everybody here who has worked a civilian job has been your boss who has said this at one point. Well, you were a Marine, you were a soldier, you were an airman, you were this. You should do better than everyone else because of that, or you should have a more attention to detail, a greater attention to detail, or you should do blank because all predicated based on your military service. And when I bring up the anonymity of online gaming, people don't know that. They don't have to know that. No one has to know that you were ever in the military. So they don't have that to look at and say, well, that guy's... The only reason he's good at this is because he did it in combat. Or the only reason this guy's a good squad leader on squad is because he was a squad leader in the Marines. You can leave that out entirely. And that kind of invites more people to maybe feel more comfortable talking to you. Eski?
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of agree with that. Like, I don't know, like, I never, like, openly talk about, like, me being in unless somebody asks me, or, like, you brought it up at some point, I'm pretty sure, Burnt, and I was like, oh, yeah, like, I'm in the service and shit like that. I don't know, it's not that I don't know, I wouldn't say I'm not proud of it, it's just, like, I don't care for bringing it up. I don't feel like it's like an important topic of discussion.
You don't want that to be a defining factor of you.
Yeah, like the people that want to that I'm like close friends with know, and that's about it. Like if I don't know, like if I'm just just friends with somebody and I meet them online, like I won't tell them like oh yeah, I'm in the fucking Navy. Like no, I'm never gonna fucking do that. Like they're out of their fucking minds. But like if I bring up like, oh, like, fuck, I gotta go to work tomorrow. Sorry, man, I gotta get off. I gotta like wake up early. And they ask me like, what do I do for work? Like, that's just a fair question. I kind of like that kind of sense of like I don't have to like nobody has to know what I do unless like they want to know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like that. Like nobody's gonna be like, oh, like he's crazy good because he's a fucking IT. He's a fucking nerd. Like no, it's not that at all. It's like it's kind of nice. Or like games like Tarkov, like he knows how to pie a door because whatever, like because he probably like learned that shit in the military. And it's like, no, I didn't. I watched other fuckers do it. Like,
right.
It's like shit like that. I don't know. Like, I think it's kind of nice to have that anonymity.
Man,
plus,
that
like,
word has really hurt you guys today. Anonymity.
Yeah. Whatever, same shit. It's also like
it's like Finding Nemo up in here.
Like I'm not gonna bring politics into this, but it's like if you bring that up, some people like just won't like you based off of that sometimes.
Oh, it was a huge identity politics based society, and that doesn't just go along with like Republican Democrat. That's just identity in general. We like to associate people with a tag, and you can online you can tell somebody like, oh, I live in this state and I do this job, and they never have to know. Oh, he was a Marine. He was a sailor. He was an airman. He did this, that,
he must have. He committed war crimes. Like
that guy was in the Air Force.
His job did war crimes at one point. It's like, motherfucker, like I never did any of that shit. Like
I was in the Air Force.
Zombie,
did you ever drop nukes on Japan in World War II?
No, but I totally hid my crowns knowing there were 3 Marines in here.
So I'm gonna shift this over to Zombie because I already know that you're gonna have some flipped on its head answer like you have the whole time.
What was the original question?
The original question is, have you made new veteran friends through gaming or military friends? And has gaming helped you talk to strangers, veterans or not? Being and having the anonymity of your online persona, has it helped you socialize and helped you with the reintegration process?
So the anonymity is kind of like burying yourself into a lie, and it's not it doesn't have to be a negative lie. It allows you to be something different. And throughout the years, even before the military, being able to be something else has made me feel more powerful, or it's made me feel uh, better about myself, or this and that, more like a positive reinforcement sort of thing. And it's really easy to get caught up in that. And it's taken me years to figure out how to not separate myself from it, but to know the divide between, hey, I'm zombie, to, hey, I'm this person in real life. And I think that's allowed me to socialize more and be more open with certain people, especially in the FaT community. Um, I have I got the problems, I got the mental issues, but I've had really bad breakdowns where not just from this community, but from my D&D community and stuff, and I've been able to call many people friends in this community, to be able to sit there and just completely unload with them, about what was either going on with there or what's going on in here. And even without that physical contact, I think being able to uh, socialize with somebody is extremely important, especially with the bullshit that I deal with inside my own mind.
Yeah, and common theme across the board again. We're all kind of aligned. Being able to kind of dive into, like you said, I have a real life, and then I'm zombie. For me, I work outside all day. I'm Jordan, and then I get online and I'm J-Dub, and I don't have to be anything that I don't want to be. And I think that really helps. You can sit down at the end of the day, and no one has to know. You can just jump in and play games. Right?
And I think the thing is that there's a big difference in balance here. 90% of the time I'm zombie. The 10% is whenever I walk away from the computer, eat, shit, shower, do whatever else, socialize with my family. Then I come back and I'm immediately back on the computer.
Yeah, I guess I can agree with the anonymity side of it too. Is like also double stacking with our rules of no politics and fear and terror. It's nice because a lot of people in my area, and it's a small town, know I'm in the military, and I hate the thing always coming up of the sentence, "Your president just did this," and I fucking hate that. And I love that I can come on to the online community and just, hey guys, even not just for the rules of no politics, but just the fact of, well, no one really gives a shit what you are here. Are you a good shooter?
Well, I mean, from just listening to you guys got a lot of pride in your military service, and I think that's where I differ from you guys specifically. Is I don't have a lot of pride with my military experience. Yeah, I enjoyed certain. It wasn't all bad. It was just it's not something that I bring up unless it's like it's something that is directed towards me. I don't have really any pride at all for being in the Air Force.
I think that speaks to you more than you think, or more than you're willing to admit, that you knew what this podcast episode was about. You knew what we were going to be talking about, and you still made the conscious decision to come on here and talk with us. And, whether you acknowledge that or not, I think that reflects very highly on you. yeah, you might not take as much pride in what you did as some of the other folks in here, but you still came on to share your experience and share, to answer these questions that aren't easy questions to answer. So, I want to thank you for that, and definitely
Hey.
give you a slap on the ass in the most friendly and non-sexual platonic way possible, while also extending a lubricated finger directly towards your sphincter.
Okay, you had me at the beginning. I uh, I I'm not going to say this isn't for selfish reasons. I mean, a lot of people, they just get small interactions with me, and I'm hoping that the people that listen to this have a better understanding of who I am, and what I'm dealing with, so that they can better interact with me.
And I hope everybody listening to this kind of, takes away from it that, yeah, FaT has a pretty strong military group. We do have quite a few veterans and active duty guys in here, but by no means does it account for even close to a majority. I mean, we're still a small percentage.
That percentage thing I want to get on is it's very akin to the percentage. Also, with us being international, of service members internationally, percentage to the population that is on Earth is extremely small, and that is us. We're a strong group, but there's not a lot of us compared to the high number of FaT members that there are.
Yeah. Ed, I think you got something.
Where were we again? I was listening, I was just zoning out, listening to everyone.
You can listen after we're done.
All right. I was thinking about Graham. Gaming, being able to talk to strangers.
No, we're already past that.
Well,
We're to your moment question.
Yeah.
we're there.
If it was a
Okay.
shade of Crayola, you'd know.
Yeah, I would. I'd probably tell you what it tastes like too.
Ooh.
So my moment question. Yeah. So my question for everyone was like, have you had a moment? So I'll tell you what my moment was, and then maybe you guys have one or you don't. So, like I said, I started off with Xbox and stuff like that. And I'd watched some stuff on YouTube about Squad and things like that. So I was like, you know what? I really want to play Squad. This shit looks like fucking legit. So have my buddy build a nice PC, go out and buy a nice set of gaming headphones, fucking start messing with all the things I'd seen everyone tell me to do, all the effects and this up and that and the sound and the audio, blah, blah, blah. I jump into the first game and I'm cruising around, I'm walking around, and then a fucking something, it must have been fucking the Russian 50 cal NSV, fucking like they shoot at me and it fucking goes over my head and I literally jumped in my fucking gaming chair, knees hit the fucking table, and I was like, holy fuck! And I like fucking had a moment where I was like, holy shit, that sounded fucking real. Like I like for a moment there, it wasn't like a flashback, but it was it got a reaction out of me. And so that was my moment. I don't know too many people like that regularly jump like that from a video game and like at that intensity. Like you see people doing it with Tarkov all the time, and Tarkov still gets me with it. But that's just because like Tarkov you can like walk around a corner and not expect someone there and fucking scares the shit out of you. That's just more of it's a jump scare. But but that squad one was more of a jump scare. That was like I heard the sound before a scare, and I know what that was.
Yeah.
So did anyone else have?
I know what you mean, and this actually is what I was gonna, pretty much the same question I was gonna ask, but mine was we were doing a historical event in Postscriptum for the developers who were streaming it in their pre-release to Chapter 3 of Postscriptum. It was Operation Oosterbeek, and about 3/4 of the way through the match, I'm on the US side, and it's scary because this same thing in this game fucking happened to me in real life and was the source of a lot of my problems post-military. All of a sudden, I run up and I pass a medic thinking nothing, like I'm just bumping up to my cover. Artillery starts coming out of fucking nowhere. Like I think both commanders at the same time called artillery on the same spot with 12 rounds max, so 24 rounds. And it all just lands. Right there in front of my face. I don't take any damage. And you just hear all this gunfire, all this other shit going on, and these rounds fucking landing on your head. And then as soon as the last round hits, the entire match, dead silence. Just absolute silence. And the first thing I hear before I can speak up going, is anybody else's game broken? Is the medic. And you know, because it's a medic, because in the proximity chat you see their class emblem next to their name, calls out, "Hey, is everybody good? Anybody hurt?" I immediately broke down, just on the spot, completely broke, because I had an event in real military where some dumbass FDO fucking used friendly coordinates for a 36 round fire for effect from M777 155mm howitzers. We had 36 rounds land on our head. And it was the scariest shit that has ever happened to me in my fucking life, and rocks me even just thinking of it. And just that moment in a game happening, and going back and remembering those fucking rounds landing on our heads, just the feeling of the bass to the extreme you can't even describe, pounding through your body. And as soon as the last round clears, just hearing the dead silence for a good solid 10 seconds or so before you hear someone like start to groan, someone speak up, "Hey, is everybody okay?" Like, that was my moment in games where I was like, holy fuck.
Yep, I know the arty sound, man. It sounds like a fucking freight train coming through the fucking air. It's the only way to explain it. And we had rounds from fucking artillery fall short and land on us as well, and it was fucking loud. But that sound before it hit, man, freight train in the sky. That's the only way I can describe it.
It's scary, man. And that was just having that in the game, and you heard me because I accidentally hit the button because I literally just face planted on the keyboard. And you just hear, from my perspective in procs, fucking, I broke down crying. Like, dead honest, I broke down crying. And you just hear it in game, and they actually, like, it finally noticed that someone, like, told me, "Hey, dude, you're hot miking." I still don't remember who it was. I think it was someone else who knows the feeling, because they came over and they're just like, "Hey, you're good, but you're hot miking." Like, they actually approached me gingerly about it. It's just, that was my moment in games where I was like, holy fuck. Games can definitely be reminding of real life events.
Yeah, dude. It's the sound. The sounds in these games now are fucking. They're sound. They're real. They're fucking real.
It's amazing, when you look at it. One of the first games I got into when I got out was Battlefield 3, 4, 3. I guess 3, then 4. 3 came out while I was still in, and then 4 came out with the Xbox One. But I think one of the moments I can point to, the sound, but just to take it in a different direction, the storytelling. Did anybody here, did y'all play Battlefield 1?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that ending, because the whole thing was the war stories, right? Telling the story of these guys. And that end scene when you beat the game, and it's told from the eyes of these dudes. And I think the one line that got me, and I'm paraphrasing this, I don't know the actual quote because it's been a while, but the guy says, they're talking about the scorched earth, and he looks up and he's like, and every once in a while the light breaks through the clouds and you see tomorrow, tomorrow's going to be a better day or whatever. And I think about, like, yes, it's a game, but that's based, there's so much history written about World War One, you know, and that doesn't change. That mentality that tomorrow's gonna be better, you know. Dude, yeah, I finished that game and I like set the controller down, stood up, walked off. My wife, girlfriend at the time, you know, she's like, "Hey, are you all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just just give me a minute," because you know, everybody goes into this thinking that it's all fun and dandy, and if you've been in a situation where you really do look at tomorrow like there has to be something better than this. There has to be something better than what we're going through right now. You know, yes, it's just a video game, but it's based on real things that really happened to real people. And that was my moment, was like, damn, the storytelling of these games has gotten so good. It's not just get to castle, save princess, kill turtle, you know? Yeah. That one hit home for whatever reason. You know, I don't know if you guys know this. I'm 30. I actually didn't serve in World War One, but just having that mindset of like, war sucks, it's bad, and we just keep doing it over and over and over again.
That was my mentality getting through a lot of the shit that I did. Was time doesn't stop. Time doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, my trigger is very, very more broad, and I'm not devaluing, your guys' experiences at all, uh, but constantly being yelled at. So whenever I get in a situation, especially if I'm pulled aside and somebody's yelling at me, I shut down, like bad, shut down. And it's happened multiple times with the online community. Uh, and it's something that I have to, deal with on a regular basis. And, I'm not wishing anything on myself, especially, but I would rather have an experience that was more specific than something as broad as that.
Interesting.
Yeah. Really, I I knew that we'd get to this point, you know, in this conversation. And for those of you guys still listening, like this is a tough conversation for a lot of people to have. And I hope you take away from this the value that you can learn about other people and understand them, you know, maybe not a sympathetic outlook, but more empathy. Understand that people deal with shit in a litany of ways, and it might not be the same shit that you deal with, and it might be worse, it might be not as bad. You know, I know people that have gone through some absolute hell on earth situations that never enlisted in any military, you know. So everybody goes through shit, and everybody has some break point, some trigger mechanism, something. But having that conversation helps, and being able to share your experience, and being able to, you know, almost speaking in the third person. You know, look at your life, look back at your life, and say, "This is my moment. This is my break point." That'll help you get through a lot of the shit. So let's do this. We'll wrap it up with something a little more fun. We'll brighten it up here at the end. Cut the psych babble bullshit. Just real quick, go around the horn. What's your favorite genre, favorite video game genre, and why?
So mine is mainly like sim combined with FPS. Uh, like because having that sim aspect, it pulls you in. And I feel like sim, especially when it's got storytelling wrapped around it. So like if you're playing, say, Star Citizen, where it will be, if you're playing Elite Dangerous, if you're playing War Thunder in simulator mode, I don't know, just a lot of Battlefield did excellent, and Call of Duty, early Call of Duties did excellent with the campaigns of just where you're pulled in. Even non-FPS, Witcher is a great one, and you're able to be absorbed into that. I forget what the term is, but it's the false sense of reality. And you leave here mentally and being pulled into that, and just getting to go into a new reality and experience it and enjoy it and be part of it. Like that combination that you get out of sim, RPG, and FPS for me is what makes my favorite grouping of genres.
A huge part of what goes into cognitive behavioral therapy or cognitive process therapy, which are two very popular forms of therapy for people struggling with PTSD, depression, anxiety, role playing. They, when I went through my sessions of cognitive process therapy with the VA, we did a lot of role playing. How would you have changed the situation if you could? What would you have done differently? Or if you weren't you, if you were controlling you, as in a video game, what would you have done differently to affect the outcome? When you talk about Sims, RPGs, those games are built around a, almost a recycling bin of problem solving. You've solved a problem, which causes another problem to appear, which you solve, which causes another problem. And constantly solving problems, it helps you work through things that might be blockading you in your own life. I'm about halfway through Red Dead Redemption 2. I made a note of that here. The actions that you take, the choices that you make directly affect the world around you. And that's becoming more of a like a factor in games. I remember playing Fable or Knights of the Old Republic. Those two games did really well with like the good and evil system. Everything you do affects you. In Fable, if you do a lot of bad stuff, then you get horns and people are scared of you. If you do a lot of good stuff, you get a halo and people love you. But working through problems, problem solving in these RPG sim games, it helps you in real life more than you think. You're able to solve problems quicker, and you might think of more outcomes of your choices just based on your experiences through video games. Ed?
My favorites have to be the first-person shooters, the squads, the Tarkovs, and then some of the strategy games. I like that aspect of, I mentioned it a little briefly earlier, like the Warhammer, controlling units and, having space marines and sending them charging into battle and things of that nature. So being able to control and move pieces around the board. So, and the first person shooter aspect, because, it's getting out there and, working with a team, or just getting out there and being a mindless killing machine. Yeah, those are my two favorites, I guess, genres.
Yeah, and with shooters, the fast-paced gameplay definitely gives you a perfect opportunity. You don't have to worry about what's going on around you. In most cases, at least with me, I'd prefer not to worry about what's going on around me. I'm in the middle of a raid on Tarkov, and my wife is like yelling from the kitchen, dinner's ready. She's mad because I'm not going out there. And I'm like, I just got to get this raid done. I got to finish this raid, So that it could definitely be a negative in that aspect, but we're staying positive here. We're trying to keep the mood light. You can unplug. You get in a shooter, fast pace like that, or tactical base like Squad. You can use that as an outlet for your anger or aggression. Get on and just, like you said, be a mindless killing machine. And the teamwork, constant, team shared struggle that helps with that feeling of loneliness or powerlessness that a lot of people have, in their own life. They get in, they work with a team, and they come away and think, what, I can do this at work too. I can work together as a team. Eski?
I don't know. I'm kind of a big fan of all three, but if I had to really narrow it down, my favorite, I think it's got to be shooters. I grew up with them. I just enjoy the fast pace of it. Sometimes, like I said, competitive games require critical thinking, and I think with my job also being like a critical thinking thing, I don't know. It's like a fun way of like not having to like really change gears into like I can immediately go from like work to like dominating in a Call of Duty game or like something like that, just because it's easy to swap over. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I think that's probably a good reason why I like to play shooters mostly, but I think that might be my favorite.
And with shooters, obviously that's a huge favorite. I mean, I just pull a random Forbes ad that was, what, not that long ago, May of 2020, and the new Modern Warfare sold something around 60 million copies within the first couple months. I mean, you're not alone in loving shooters. There's a reason it's the most popular game genre in the world. And like I said, just having that outlet, being able to unplug. There's a reason why it's so popular. Zombie?
So first, I was completely unaware that there was an option to not be evil in Fable.
I thought you were joking. I thought you were joking.
No.
You mean I didn't have to kill everyone in Oakdale immediately?
Oh, well. Okay, fumbles. Our RPGs are definitely my favorite, and the survival RPGs. Being able to find the loots and upgrade, and being able to interact with like an open world, and attempt to survive with whatever aspect it be, it zombie or just desert heat or whatever. Those would be my favorite.
And that, I think, speaks a lot to that almost instant gratification that you get. Looter shooters or looter survival games like that, you start off with nothing. You know, we'll use Rust as an example. I don't play Rust, so if anybody has any corrective information.
Can we say 7 Days to Die instead of Rust? Because Rust is,
I just
7 Days
thought
to
of
Die.
the first. Okay, 7 Days to Die. Cool. Never played that one either. But I do. I mean, when I think of looter shooters, I think of stuff like, and maybe not
Tarkov.
looter shooter, but yeah, Tarkov, survival-esque,
DayZ.
even go into the more comical side, like Borderlands, stuff that you kill an enemy, he drops something, you get something, you become better. There's that instant gratification of, damn, I just killed this boss and he just dropped all these great weapons and all this cool gear and stuff. You don't have to wait, or he dropped money and then you have to go to a store and then you have to buy it. You're forced into happiness, right? You don't go and browse the catalog and be like, well, I have all this gold. Should I buy this or should I buy that? Like, he drops this badass machine gun. You're like, I have a badass machine gun now. I didn't even have to pick it out. I didn't have to go through anything. I just have it.
Or like killing some thick boy Chad on Tarkov.
Yeah, exactly.
No, like, oh man, he dropped a shitload of rubles. It's, oh fuck, I got this decked out M4 and a fast MT. Like,
Right.
oh shit.
And in all those games, problem solving is kind of that's what video games are based around, even going back to Pac-Man, the early days of arcade gaming. You're trying to solve a problem. These ghosts are trying to eat you, and you're trying to eat yellow dots. How do I eat dots without being eaten? All the way up to nowadays. How do I get in, get my loot, kill these enemies, and extract before the time limit's up? And constantly.
And do I have enough time to eat the dots?
And do I have enough time to eat the dots? And will I make it to the big dot so that I can eat more people? Cannibalism is, I'm going off on a tangent now, but consistently solving problems, it's been proven to make you a better problem solver in real life scenarios. I think we all touched on that. And yeah, I think this has been a super productive conversation. I'll pose one final question. We'll go around. Everybody will give us a quick little brief answer. And then we'll say our goodbyes and good nights for the night. As a gamer, part of Fear and Terror, and as a veteran, is there anything you wish you could tell other veterans out there that struggle with the day-to-day about gaming or gaming as a community?
You're not alone. There's a lot of us here. Sometimes you just gotta find us. don't be afraid to reach out. This isn't fucking 10 years ago, 15 years ago. This isn't post-Vietnam. Reach out. Ask for help. People want to help. You're not going to get criticized anymore. I mean, especially in today's day and age. Not trying to be political, but everyone with political correctness and our feelings matter. Like, that's not just even a joke of other people. It's a serious thing. Like, you matter. We all matter, and we're all here in this together.
My turn.
Yeah, we'll just go around.
You know, it's find people you can connect to and relate to, and stay in touch with them. You know, and becoming part of a larger gaming community puts you in touch with more people, and more people that you might relate to and that you want to, you know, game with and talk to, and maybe talk about other things too. So I know it's, you know, people already here in Fear and Terror. You know, if you're hearing this, then yeah, reach out to people if you're thinking about it, or if it hasn't crossed your mind, try it.
Esky?
Oh, shit. I haven't really been able to speak much. I know a lot of people say embrace the suck. It's not true. You don't have to. A lot of us have all embraced the suck at some point, but there gets to a point where you just don't have to anymore. You just talk about it. A lot of people can just help you de-stress, joke around, shoot the shit. I mean, shit. Like if I'm having a bad day, I just watched J-Dub die a couple times in Tarkov. It's pretty funny. There's just other shit you can do
That
to keep
happens
your mind
a
off
lot.
things. Yeah, I know it does. It's fucking hilarious. Don't think you just have to just deal with it. You don't. Like you can talk to people and actually de-stress and just relax yourself. All right, Zombie, I'm gonna pass it on to you.
If you're currently in the service, get copies of your medical records. Whenever you get out of the service, seek a representative to fight on your behalf for the VA. Don't try to fight the VA by yourself. And also, people taste like pork.
My advice to everybody, you know, whether it be gaming, whether it be something else, you know, for those of us that are in Fear and Terror, or if somebody might be listening to this that a friend shared with them that's not a part of the community yet, join up. It's not just gaming. We have a huge number of hobby channels, you know, from guns, fishing, food, the garage for our mechanically minded friends. You know, there's a lot of stuff out there, and not just in Fear and Terror. There's a ton of support groups and community efforts to help veterans and people struggling in the day-to-day. You know, you hear it all the time. You're not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone. Reach out. Find a hobby, whether it be gaming or whether it be anything else. Find a hobby. Find like-minded people. I guarantee you they'll be willing to listen, and I guarantee you they'd be willing to be there for you. You know, we have a crisis page on Fear and Terror. If you ever feel like you can't talk to somebody you know, there's somebody out there that'll listen. I'll leave it at that. I'm gonna post the link to the page along with this podcast, so you can get phone numbers for the crisis lines, the various helplines. But your first line of defense should always be to reach out to people you know. And along the same lines as everybody said, you know, you're not alone. You're the people that are like-minded, the people that share the same interests. I promise you, they'll be willing to listen. So, that's it. Thank you guys for listening. I want to thank Burnt, Ed, Esky, and Zombie for joining me today. You guys have been phenomenal. I've really enjoyed this conversation. And I hope this gets shared. I hope the people that are listening to this, if you took something away from it, share it with somebody you know, bring them in. Obviously, having people as a part of the community helps us grow as a gaming community, but it also helps the individuals that are involved in it. It gives them that outlet. So share this with your friends. Let everybody know, that there's things out there to help you out with anything that you could be going through. And yeah, just stay hard. Thanks for joining us.
Stay hard, you mean like stay erect?
Always. If you're not erect, you're not trying hard enough.
Fuck, my tent's been pitched the whole time.
I told you, I took my pants off for this. And they're not on.
Hey, J-Dub, I swear to God, if you remove People Taste Like Port post-edit, I'm going to be extremely displeased.
I'm going to bass boost it and ear rape it.
Yes.